Guys, fun fact, Lila goes crazy when the fire alarm goes off. She cries and whines and she gets so scared. It's okay, baby. Look at her. She's gonna climb up on my lap now. It usually takes them a while because then the fire truck comes and they have to make sure it's not anything serious. And then they'll shut off the noise. It's okay, you anxious little mess. It's okay. It's so loud and scary, I know. It's okay. You guys, I have a little bean on my lap. She's still not over the fire alarm that went off in the last video. Say hi. She hates when I film, but she's all freaked out and anxious from the fire alarm, so she will probably be on my lap for the remainder of this video. My grandpa is punishing my dad, and he might deserve it. This story came June 9th, 2024. I, female 21, lost my mom when I was 14. Dad remarried when I was 17. My stepmom has a daughter, female 15, and she and dad had a boy, male 3. And now she just gave birth to a little girl. Anyway, I've worked since I was 16 to have enough money to buy stuff for myself. When I turned 18, Dad said I was now an adult and should start paying rent. It was only $500, a symbolic amount since he would still cover food and other essentials. I was mad and we fought, but in the end I accepted, and that was the arrangement until 7 months ago. Dad came to me saying I had 2 months to move out. Stepmom was pregnant and they would need my room for the baby, which is insane because they both have private offices. My stepmom doesn't even need one since she's a stay-at-home mom since the birth of my baby brother. Nonetheless, they told me I had to move. I didn't know what to do. I'm going to college. I want to be a civil engineer, and I also work part-time. I don't have the means to live by myself. I called my aunt asking if I could move in with her for the time being until I figured something out, and I offered to pay rent and all. She was aghast at what my dad was doing, and she said I absolutely could live with her, no rent needed, but also said she was gonna deal with my dad. The next day, Grandpa came to our house and they talked privately. I could hear my dad's angry voice, but I couldn't understand anything being said. After a while, Grandpa came to my room and said that I had 3 choices. The first was to continue living with dad and stepmom like I was doing. Nothing would change except without paying rent. The second was moving in with him and grandma or my aunt. Third was to find a place on my own and he would pay the rent and costs for me. Bless Grandpa. My heart. That's so cute. He said I didn't need to choose now. I could keep living with dad, and if I changed my mind, to just tell him. I was actually relieved that I could still live with my dad and that this madness was over. But the following days and weeks, dad and stepmom were very hostile towards me, and I felt incredibly uncomfortable being in my own home. Even Cassie picked this up and asked me why they were angry at me. Cassie is sister, by the way. So I decided to move out, and I told Grandpa. He said he would take care of everything. A few weeks later, he moved me into one of his rental units. The apartment is lovely. He bought me a fridge, stove, and other essential items, and he gave me a check for $15,000, saying this money, why did I whisper that? 15, like, hello? A check for $15,000 saying this money is to help me start living on my own, and that as long as I am working or studying, I can live there rent-free for as long as I want to. My dad and I have been in pretty low contact since I moved out. He never came to visit me, or I visit them. I miss them a lot, especially my stepsister, but I am still hurt. 2 weeks ago, my stepmom gave birth. I visited them in the hospital. It was a little awkward, but nice seeing them and my baby sister. Anyway, a few days ago, my dad called me saying he misses me, the children miss me, and I should move back home. He apologized for asking me to move out, etc. And I told him I would think about it. But why the change of heart all of a sudden? Yesterday, I visited my aunt and I was telling her what my dad said. And my cousin laughed a little and said, "I'm sure he does." I asked what he meant, and that's when he told me a lot of, until now, unknown information. Basically, my dad's home is actually my grandpa's, as is my aunt's. Basically, the deal he had made with me, he did with all of his own kids and some grandkids as well. He never wanted any of his family to have to worry about basic stuff like a house and food. So when I called my aunt that time, she called Grandpa, who was furious with Dad, not only for kicking me out, but also for charging me rent. Was your dad paying the mortgage on the house, or was your grandpa covering that for his kid? And was your dad pocketing your $500? That day, he went to my dad's and tore him a new one and threatened to have him evicted. But now the petty part. You know that $15K my grandpa gave me? It's actually what I paid Dad in rent all of that time. Stop. And now he's making Dad pay him back. Also, he's charging my dad $1,200 for the rent loss in the apartment that I'm living in. Call me dumb or naive, but until now, I never realized my dad didn't make that much money. We lived in a great house, we always went on vacation, and we lived very comfortable lives. But I guess Grandpa has always been helping behind the scenes. Now my cousin thinks my dad is struggling with 3 kids at home, a single income, and having to pay it back to Grandpa. So he says Dad wants me back because he imagines Grandpa will stop punishing him if I am back living with him. Honestly, I don't know what to do. I'm actually loving living on my own these past 6 months, but I do really miss them. I miss my siblings. I miss the life we had before all of this, but I don't know if moving back home is the right answer. And also, I'm hurt because the reason he wants me back is money. I don't like this at all. He was so willing to say goodbye to you, figure it out on your own, and also, I'm charging you rent and pocketing it. Are you kidding me? Like, to your own child, you're gonna be deceptive and kick them out and say fend for yourself? You have 2 months? I don't care. I don't like this at all. Stay on your own. That's where I'm at. Let me know what you guys think. The first update came 9 days later. First, I'm answering some questions that people had. My aunt and my grandpa are from my father's side of the family. My mom's side, unfortunately, I don't have much contact. My grandparents have passed away before Mom. I have uncles and aunts. I see them once in a while, but they don't live close. I also have 2 other uncles from my father's side. I'm close to them, but not as close as I am to my aunt. She was my rock when my mom passed away. I considered her a second mom. My stepmom knew about the rent that I was paying, and it was implied that my stepsister would need to do the same when she turned 18. But I don't know if she knew Dad didn't own the house or the extent of how much Grandpa was financially helping Dad. This is wild. Now, on to the update. Monday, the day after my post, I called Dad and I said I decided to not move back. Music to my ears. I'm really proud of you for that. I didn't mention anything I was told, just that I was well settled here and moving back seemed like a step back. But I also said I wanted to keep in contact with them. They could invite me for dinner whenever they wanted, and I also said I would love for my stepsister and brother to be able to spend time with me here at home. He was disappointed, and I didn't feel any anger in his tone at least. But he basically said, "We'll see," and left it at that. I was also disappointed, but then Friday he called me and asked me if I wanted to have lunch on Sunday, which is today. I said I already had plans with Grandpa and Grandma, and he asked when I would be free, so we scheduled dinner for Thursday. I haven't told any of this to my stepsister. We talk and text regularly. She also hasn't heard them talking about me, but she did say her grandma, like her mom's mom, is there to help with the baby and is being incredibly annoying. I laughed at that. I wanted to offer her a sleepover here, but didn't want her to get excited just for my dad to say no, so I'll try talking with them Thursday. The big update is that I've just come back from visiting Grandma and Grandpa. We spent a lovely day together, but I also said I wanted to know everything that was going on. I wasn't a kid anymore, and I felt like I was living in lies. The most important things were things my cousin and my aunt told me last week, but there were a few more. Grandpa has been subsidizing quite often our basic needs, like school, healthcare, etc., because Dad hasn't saved 1 cent, according to Grandpa. Also, my college fund was mainly contributed by him and my mom before her passing. I guess that makes sense. I was also dumb to not realize this sooner. He also has set up funds for my baby siblings and also one for my stepsister because he didn't want her to feel excluded and not have the same opportunities as her siblings. I want to hug him. You know when you like have a feel-good family movie and there's that grandpa character? That's what this feels like. Like he just wants to provide and help for everyone. And he's everyone's, just like teddy bear. Good for grandpa. I love this. I also expressed worries about my dad's financial situation and he assured me dad is fine. More than fine. He will have to be less frivolous with money for a while, but that he would never let any of his kids or grandkids suffer or be in need of anything. As many of you said, he's trying to teach dad a lesson. I should have taught him long ago, he said. So I'll stay out of it. I don't think I'll tell dad that I know all of this. I know many of you said to confront him, but I think it's for the best if he continues thinking that I'm oblivious. Lastly, we talked about why dad kicked me out. He didn't have an answer either. I could see he and grandma were very hurt by what my dad did. He said he asked for an explanation, but got none. That is it for now. But of course, we have more updates, and the next one came another 9 days later. There isn't much of an update, but some people messaged me asking about how the dinner went. So last Thursday, I went there after work. Gosh, I miss my siblings so much, and I spent the majority of the time with them. My baby brother is not a baby anymore. He has grown so much. My baby sister is so cute I could eat her alive. I never want to be apart from them anymore, and it doesn't matter what happens. Cassie, the stepsister, is the only one I maintained regular contact with through calls and text. She's just an amazing person as well. She knows I didn't move out in the best of circumstances, but she doesn't know the details or anything about the money. I asked if she wanted to have a sleepover at my house sometime, and she was thrilled. If I hadn't stopped her, she would have started packing at that second. My stepmom's mom was still there to help with the baby, and guess where she's staying? In my old bedroom. They transformed it into a guest room. And the baby was in stepmom's old office. Honestly, that hurt a little. I've only met my stepmom's parents a few times. They were always nice to me. This time she kept looking at me weird all the time. It didn't matter where I was or where I moved. She was keeping track of me, like she was expecting me to try and steal something. Yeah, maybe her family or her bedroom back. Anyways, apart from that, dinner went as well as you can imagine. It was a little awkward, but I was glad that I could see my siblings and spend a few more hours playing with them. We have another dinner scheduled for Friday. I don't know if I'll ever find out exactly why they wanted me to move or why charge me rent. I don't want to touch the subject now because I don't want to jeopardize my relationship with my siblings. So I don't know if I'll have any more updates since things are settling down and it is now just life. But if I find out in the future, I'll update. There's a lot of updates, so I hope you found out and that we get the tea. But first, let's hop on Hydration Station. Cheers. And yes, if you're wondering, Lila is still on my lap, anxious and scared from the fire alarm. I put her down on the ground and I was like, it's all done, girlfriend. You can go play, go chill. And she just laid at my feet, like quivering. So I was like, okay, just sit on my lap while I film.
It's okay, it's all done, you silly gooby.
Anxiety. What's that song? Anxiety. Na, 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 na. I only know the word anxiety. Probably because I have it. All right, so the next update was 12 days later. Since my last update, things have been normal from my side. I had another dinner with my parents the Friday before last. Stepmom's mom was still giving me the dirty eye, but I ignored her. I had scheduled dinner with them for last Friday, but on Wednesday, my dad called me saying if I could instead postpone dinner and instead go to my grandpa's on Saturday because he needed to talk to the whole family. Ooh. I hate when someone's like, we have to talk, but they don't want to tell you right in that moment. They're like, next time I'm in person with you, we have to talk. No. Tell me now, because I will have anxiety and I will not sleep until I know what the heck it is you're going to talk to me about. So yesterday afternoon, I went to Grandpa's. My aunt was there as well. Then my dad and stepmom arrived with Cassie. Dad was clearly embarrassed. He apologized to me, to my grandparents. Stepmom apologized to me as well. And Dad gave an explanation, an apology, and a reason for everything that happened in the last few years. Some things I already knew, but Cassie didn't. Years and years ago, Grandpa and a friend started a company. The company was very successful. When Dad was 25, Grandpa sold the company and made a lot of money. So he decided to gift each child a home. He gave his kids $350,000 each with the promise that they would use to buy homes or pay out the mortgages. Grandpa had seen people lose their homes and didn't want that to happen to his kids. Dad didn't buy a home, however. He actually moved to New York to start his own practice and become a big and successful lawyer. As you can imagine, things didn't turn out so well for him. Half a decade later, he has no money left, can't pay rent, so he reaches out to Grandpa and moves back home. Grandpa helps him find a job with a buddy of his. After a while, Dad starts to put his life back together, rents a home, and moves out from my grandpa's, meets my mom, and then starts dating her. They fall in love. After a while, he asks to marry her. Before they married, Grandpa came to them and said he would gift them a home. He had already talked with his other kids and they were fine with it. But because he didn't trust Dad and the home is so Dad's future kids would always have a roof over their heads, the home would stay in his name and in his will, they would go directly to Dad's kids. Oh. So I was actually mistaken before. My uncle and aunts don't live in homes owned by Grandpa. Only my dad does. And I think 2 cousins of mine as well. Next thing, I was born, life is good for a while, then Mom passes away. Dad struggles with taking care of me alone, and that is when Grandpa starts to help financially. A few more years later, Dad meets Stepmom, but Dad is embarrassed by not owning the house and that Grandpa is helping him, so he never tells Stepmom any of this. For her, Dad was just a moderately successful lawyer. They marry, she becomes pregnant, she asks if she can become a full-time stay-at-home mom, and Dad is embarrassed to say no. So he tells her it's fine. In the meanwhile, now with 3 kids plus a stay-at-home wife, Dad is struggling even more. Grandpa is helping more and Dad's savings are becoming diminished day by day. Dad admits that he kind of threw Stepmom under the bus to Grandpa, blaming her for his financial problems to Grandpa, so Grandpa would continue helping for the sake of the kids. But now with a new kid, Stepmom not working, and trying to protect Stepmom and his in-laws, how things were just going fine, saving the money became impossible, according to him. By the way, he also lied to me here at the time, saying that it's just a normal thing to do, charging kids rent, and that Grandpa had done it to him and his kids, which is a lie that I discovered 8 months ago, but with everything else that happened, that seemed small at the time. There's a detail that I didn't disclose in my previous post because it doesn't matter, or so I thought. And that is that I'm part of the LGBTQIA+ community. I don't hide this fact. In fact, I was already out to my mom before her passing. But it's not something I advertise either. That'll become relevant later. Dad's thought process was that it was time for me to move out and that they could have someone move in to help with the new baby, especially if Stepmom wanted or needed to go back to work. However, he didn't tell Stepmom any of this at the time, keep in mind. Only said that he thought it was the best for me and the baby was coming and it was just a great opportunity. According to them, Stepmom was against this, but Dad pulled the "my daughter, I know best" card, so she deferred to him. They tell me that I need to move out. I talked about this from my point of view. That day, Grandpa goes to my dad's home and they have a huge fight. Not only Dad and Grandpa, but Dad and Stepmom. Because it was then she discovered Dad didn't own the house, Dad had almost no savings, and Dad was dependent on Grandpa. My dad's deal with her parents was still a secret. At this point, I asked Grandma, Stepmom's mom, why she acted so hostile to me after that day, so much that made me feel unwelcomed and wanting to move out. and she looked shocked. She apologized to me and started to cry, saying that she was never mad at me, but was actually mad at my dad, and that she had no idea that she was to blame for me moving out and not, moving back in. I know many of you have said bad things about her, and I don't blame you, but I do believe her. The look on her face when I said I felt unwelcome, and that's why I moved on, it's not something you can fake. Now I'm thinking she's just as much of a victim of my dad's actions as me. And all of this time, she was just trying to give me space. So going back to events, I move out. Grandpa not only cuts dad from all financial support, but starts to charge him money now for the house. The only thing he continued paying for is Cassie's education. Now everything is in the open, and dad and stepmom have to cut everything. Dinners, expensive foods, selling her car, etc. Dad actually wanted to act as nothing had happened. Continue with me visiting, rebuilding the relationship, but stepmom put her foot down and said he needed to come clean about everything, not only to me, but Cassie and everyone else as well. And so we came to the present. I was crying, stepmom was crying, Cassie was crying, dad was crying, aunt was crying, okay, so literally everyone was crying, and grandma, who hadn't said a single word, was holding me tight. According to dad, that's all. No more lies, no more deception. Dad and stepmom left after that. I slept at grandpa's because I was in no state to drive. I came home this morning, took a long shower, and I cried a lot. And now I'm typing this out to see if it helps me make sense of all of this and make sense of my own thoughts and feelings. Now we have a final update, which came more than a year later, very recently, September 16th, 2025. I am curious what happened. I wonder if she moved back in. First, I'm in a much better place emotionally, as last year I was a complete wreck. I'm doing very well for the most part. After everything hit the fan that day, life went back to normal, more or less. We started family therapy for a while. It started promising, with dad being willing and open, but after a while he regressed and became less willing to put in the work until he just stopped going. Me and Cassie continued going for a while, but stopped as well. I continue with individual therapy, and my psychiatrist wants to make an evaluation for ADHD, but wants to wait until I'm fully emotionally and psychologically stable. Stepmom and Cassie continue individual therapy as well. As I imagine most could guess, stepmom and dad ended up separating after a few months. Oh, I actually didn't even think of that. At first it was temporary, but now there is no going back. Divorce is not finalized yet, however. Stepmom stayed in the house as grandpa would not accept anything else. I started going there to help stepmom with the baby and my little brother more and more until I was spending almost all my time there. So me and stepmom decided I would move back. So now you're living in your dad's old house, but your dad doesn't live there anymore, and you're living with stepmom, which is now dad's ex-wife. That's crazy. I thought grandpa would be disappointed, as he was very proud of how well I was doing on my own, but he looked happy when I told him. Home life has actually been pretty good. Me and stepmom became really close this last year. She went back to work while I left mine to help with the kids. But also, grandpa insisted on paying me to babysit. But next year I'll start interning at a construction company for my grandpa's friend. I know many people insisted that my stepmom knew everything or was somewhat complacent with my dad's actions, but I truly believe and trust her. She has almost no contact with her parents, and they are forbidden to visit. Cassie also stepped in and is helping a lot around the house, and grandpa also insists on paying her for her time. We know this is his way of helping us without making it sound too much like charity. My father and I barely speak nowadays. He acts like we should all just forget everything and move on, which I cannot do. There's no formal custody agreement between him and stepmom. But overall, I'm in a much better place than I was last year. That's crazy though. What a whirlwind. Very confusing though at the same time. If only dad had been honest along the way, his life would have turned out very differently. What karma that must be for all those lies and secrets along the way that brought him here. That's gonna be hard to reflect back on. Let me know your thoughts, you guys. Stay classy out there. Stay sassy. I'll see you tomorrow.